Hello, my name is Dr. Guillermo Munoz. I am the principal at Valencia Park Elementary School here in Fullerton School District. I am joined by Mr. Mauricio Gormas, the principal of Nicholas Junior High School.
Hi everyone, my name is Mauricio Gormaz. I'm the proud principal at Nicholas Junior High, and thank you very much for watching this video. We'll have really important information for you, and it really is a call to action to ensure that our kids are successful not only at Valencia Park, but when they matriculate up to Nicholas Junior High and in the future beyond Nicholas into high school. Thank you very much for tuning in.
A lot of the stuff that we're going to cover today has everything to do with reclassification. This is very important information for all of our students that has implications that for our kids, in particular with their scheduling. We want them to really focus in and hone in on the necessary skills so they can reclassify. This will have an impact for them when they leave us here at Valencia Park and go to any junior high school. It'll have a huge impact on their schedule.
The only way we're going to make a meaningful difference is if parents like you understand what that means, if you understand what assessments are used to reclassify students as English proficient, and working with our feeder schools and principals like I'm working now with Dr. Munoz and the Valencia community to make sure that we support our students and their achievement and their reclassification.
Currently, we're putting some things in place at Nicholas as well as at Valencia Park to kind of create like a safety net for the kids to help them out. We have put all of our data, we have our team in place, and we have different teachers working on specific skills and different agendas and planning and so forth. But our kids will have a better shot. So in the next few years, the numbers should decrease dramatically to the point that they can absolutely reclassify regularly. So we're putting everything from 6th grade, 5th, 4th, and below to make sure that everything works out. This has a huge impact for us, but it can't be something that's done exclusively at the home, at school. It's going to be done in partnership with you at home. One of the very first things that the kids need to do is they need to be, number one, at grade level when it comes to their iReady. So every 6 to 9 weeks, we're taking an assessment with the students. And when we do that, we're able to get the data that we need in order for us to determine their growth. So by next month, we should have it by February. We should have the necessary data to tell us where the students are going to be at. And so far, the trends that we're seeing are positive. So we're looking forward to this.
You bring up a great point, Dr. Munoz. The next iReady diagnostic test is scheduled to begin February 7th, and it goes to March 2nd. So in the month of February, students will be taking an exam called iReady, and we need our students to both take that test seriously and score as well as they can, because they need to be scoring proficient on that assessment in order to be considered for reclassification if the other assessments are also met. Dr. Munoz, could you tell us what other assessments students need to score and take in order to be reclassified?
Yes, absolutely. The second component that our students are assessed on that we use as a criteria for reclassification is our own Fullerton School District writing assessment. This writing assessment is a prompt for the kids that they're supposed to write to a specific performance task. On here, they have specific expectations with regards to a rubric and how well they're supposed to perform. What we've done is we've identified the students that are really close to receiving the base minimum of 3 for reclassification, and we started working with them and teaching them the necessary skills so that when they see the prompt, whatever the prompt is, they're able to look at the data, they're able to look at what's being presented and be able to respond in the written form using the criteria that's in the rubric for them. So this is not going to be something that they're going to see only once. The teachers are already preparing with a lot of writing inside the classrooms, but we'll also have a person dedicated, a team dedicated to helping the students familiarize them with this assessment. So for us, it's going to happen in April. The students in April will take this FSD writing assessment, and our plan is that when we get the results back, that they'll score the base minimum of 3. We're shooting for 4, but we'll settle for 3.
Thank you, Dr. Munoz. So again, Dr. Munoz has covered the iReady assessment, which is a reading assessment. And he just discussed that at Valencia Park, the next writing assessment will take place April 22nd. At Nicholas Junior High, students will be taking that writing assessment on February 9th. What other assessments are there that students need to perform on in order to be reclassified?
Yes, absolutely. The last assessment that our students are measured against the criteria for reclassification is the big one. This is the state exam known as the ELPAC, the English Language Proficiency Assessment for California. This one has a couple of components that the students must be able to fully conquer and show that they understand and can use English in the written form, in the speaking form, when they listen. So they are assessed in 4 different formats, and they're able to show us that they have a specific level of mastery. This assessment starts in February. The students start taking this. So for us, we'll start with our 6th graders and start getting them assessed in hopes that we'll get their results before the school year ends. And then the other 2 criteria, hoping those are met, we'll be able to reclassify them to meet that lofty goal that Mr. Gormas was talking about. But in that, they're going to be asked to make an assessment of what they can do with regards to writing. So they'll do a writing component with the ELPAC. They're also going to do a listening component where they'll be needing to hear conversations and answer questions to it. Those are one-off. So when they hear it, they only hear it once. They cannot repeat it, or listen to the audio repeatedly. Instead, they have to listen to it, and sometimes it's lengthy, but it is a true assessment of their understanding of English. There's also being able to read passages and answer questions. Some of the questions are relatively easy, but the questions are found within the text, the answers, and some of them are inferred, where the students need to listen to it, read it actually, and then say, oh, okay, based on what they read, they need to understand that it's something that's happening. So when they do take the reading, listening, writing, and speaking, that they're showing that they have a certain level. For this one, the overall level of mastery must be a 4. And we're very hopeful because currently we have a large chunk of 6th graders who are showing us that they are close. So many of them have scored 3s. So we're very happy for this one coming up in February.
Thank you, Dr. Munoz. So what we've covered are really important assessments for your children and your family in order for students to score really well, proficient or higher, in order to be reclassified. And you may be wondering, what can we do to help and support our students' reclassification into being considered fluent English proficient? Is there anything that you would recommend our families do, Dr. Munoz, to be supportive of student achievement in this regard?
One of the main components that every family can do to support their children in these 3 efforts to be reclassified, this endeavor, is reading. Read to your kids. Have someone read to your kids. Anyone read to your kids. I want them to see what fluency looks like, hear what fluency looks like. That's something you can do to help them out. They're going to get a chance to have an interaction with you with regards to the prompts that they're reading, the passages that they're reading. When they do have these interactions with them, have these conversations, what is happening at the beginning, the middle, at the end. It can be recipes, it can be any book that's of their interest, but when you start with reading as the foundation, you are setting them up for success. So I would highly encourage any family to visit the links. So at the bottom of this video, we do have links there that are provided to show the families exactly what the assessments will look like, especially the ELPAC on there. On both our school websites, we have resources for the families. At Valencia Parks, for example, under the parent section, on there are teacher created materials. So if you go there and you can click on the English language arts, even the mathematics, you can see that the teachers have put together some resources for you in order for you to be able to help your children be successful with regards to reading and mastering the English language, and helping us help them with reclassification. So thank you.
I appreciate all the efforts that you're doing, Dr. Munoz, to be supportive of students of Valencia prior to getting it to Nicholas. I want all families to know that at Nicholas, we're really anxious and looking forward to receiving all Valencia Park students. I think the suggestions that Dr. Munoz gave about literacy, reading with your kids, are all really great strategies to promote language and literacy and English development in your kids. Please also know that part of the assessment components in the state assessment have to do with listening and speaking. So just the idea that you communicate verbally with your students give them opportunities to speak to you and you speak to them, and giving them opportunities to just engage in dialogue, storytelling, and really, even when you're taking a trip, you're in the car, just engaging with your kids, communicating with them is all going to be in support of their language development, whether that be in English or any other home language that you have that the home uses. So these are really great strategies and skills. We are a partner with you in the education of our students. And again, we look forward to success at Valencia Park and your student success at Nicholas.
So remember, at the bottom, there are some quick links for you as a family to use. And these are resources released to all of us by the state of California. Before I leave, I just want to share with you a quick little tip. In the past, there's been a writing component of it where the children were given a box with 3 images horizontally. And the very first box, the image was the image of a young man and his father outside, if you would, on the street in front of a barbershop. The second image was both father and son inside the barbershop getting a haircut with smiles on their faces. The third image is the boy and the father exiting the barbershop or already halfway out and have obviously less hair, big smiles on their face, and super happy. When the students are writing, I've seen a variety of responses, and some of them will say, oh, the little boy and his father went and get a haircut. That's true. But when you go based on the rubric, they got a 1 because they gave the minimum. Some kids would go as far as say the boy and his father went to get a haircut. They're with the barber, and then they left happy with their haircut. They add a little bit more, but at the end of the day, it's still not going to up their ranking. They're going to get a very low score because it is a minimum, and they're not drawing enough inferences from the images. Well, there have been historically students who write something to the effect of a young man and his father or a boy and his dad went into town specifically to spend the day together. And when they were there, they were walking in front of a barber shop, both looked at each other and saw that each one had a little bit longer hair than they originally desired, right? So then with that look, they decided they're going to go inside and get a haircut. Now they're inside the barber shop in the second image, and when they're in there, they're really enjoying not only getting the haircut, but the conversations with them, as well as the barber catching up with the barber and retelling stories. The third one is they're both really excited that they got the haircut. Their hair looks fantastic. They feel super enthusiastic, and they're probably both super excited to share their new haircut or show their mom or mom what a wonderful job the barbers did and what a great idea it was to go get a haircut after all. When your kid writes with that level of detail and that much specificity and inference from what they're reading, their ranking goes to 3 or 4, depending on how much more detail they add. That's a quick little tidbit. So when you're home with your kids and you're asking them, or you know that they're out there practicing their writing at the house, please encourage them to add more detail. It's a digital electronic submission, so they have up to 4,000 characters they can enter. So they don't have to be brief. They can be as specific and as detailed as possible. So again, I want to thank you all. Thank you, families, very much for this and your support. I am Dr. Guillermo Munoz from Valencia Park.
Thank you, Dr. Munoz. And again, at Nicholas, we anxiously await for Valencia Park students to come up to us. We're prepared for you. We see you. We're excited to work with you in the success of our students.